To be a champion, it requires heart and a relentless desire to be great. Here at Jaguar Women's Basketball, we call that being Southern tough. Join us here at F.G. Clark Activity Center all season long. Tickets are on sale now for 2017-18. Go Jaguars.
This is Inside the Jaguar Nation, presented by Russell Law Firm.
That's right. Welcome to Inside the Jaguar Nation. I'm, of course, Brian Holland alongside Morgan Beard, and plenty to talk about this week, including some basketball there, Morgan.
Oh, yes, and of course, don't forget about football coming up a little bit later in the show.
Yeah.
But this past week, the first ever early National Signing Day, of course. But before that, it's basketball season, and a big team, the Southern Jaguars, were taking on the road last Wednesday. Number 18, top 25 ranked Baylor over there at the Farrell Center in Waco, Texas, as we get right to it. And then here you see the guy we've seen a little earlier this year, Emmanuel Shepard. He had 6 off the bench for the Jags, and we've seen this one before, Brian.
Oh, yeah.
Eddie Reese to Jared Sam inside.
The big man scoring, he'd be your high score for the night, but the Baylor Bears, they'd come back around. This Manu. Looking like Manu with a little Euro step there in the lane. Manu Lecomte. He wasn't done, by the way. Leading the break right here.
No look.
To Mr. King McClure. His name is actually King. King McClure finishing right there. And then Baylor continues to pound it in the post. That size, that length, tough to obviously compete against. Final of this one, 80-60 there in Waco. Let's look at some of those final stats. Mr. Jared Sam, I told you he led in points, 21 points, 9 rebounds, 2 steals. That was a team high, of course, but Manu Lecomte, too much there for the Jags, 22 points on the night. And Baylor shooting 63% from the field, 20 points from the bench.
Ooh, that'll do it.
So you're not going to win many games when you allow 20 points there from the bench. That's getting past the starting 5 of the Talents.
Yeah, not that that's the entire reason, but a 20-point defeat, 20 points from the bench. Obviously, a lot of other places they could have made that up there.
Absolutely. And the Jags now 3-9 on the season. You see Coach Scott is still trying to figure out some of those lineups. Hey, LSU across town also tinkering with their lineups too. So that isn't totally unheard of, I guess you'd probably say, this time of the year.
Yeah, they're a few games in, but still, any coach, really, no matter what kind of team they do have, still trying to figure out that identity. Yeah. And for these guys in Southern, they love Jared Sam, and for good reason. They just probably need a consistent second scorer to complement him. We saw Eddie Reese. He could dish the rock around like the best of them, but maybe get him more involved scoring-wise. And, of course, the Quentin Collins, a strong point guard, is important, especially since SWAC play is right around the corner. And we can't forget women's team, also in action this past week versus Toledo.
Yeah, the Lady Jags, they're in West Palm Beach taking on the Toledo Lady Rockets. Courtney Parsons showing off her skill right there with the steal. A little Allen Iverson in her as well for the 2. But the Rockets would come right back, cool and calm as the break. The Jaguars press with the ease and get the lay-in right there. Jaguars down 9, 41-32. But preseason all-conference player Brianna Green finds an open score right there. Jags hanging around in this one.
Hanging around, keeping it close, and they would cut the lead to 3 when Skylar Obear hits the Steph Curry-esque deep 3 right there. Coming up, look at that.
Almost in the front row.
Beyond all the lines there, maybe an NBA too. But the Toledo, just a little too much in this one. They run that smooth offense, a lot of ball movement, making it look way too easy. They get inside for that easy lay-in, and then the Rockets, they come right back and attack the paint for another inside bucket. Jaguars fall in a close one, 81-76, and just like we did for Southern Baylor, let's take a look at some final game stats here. Brianna Green, you saw her there in the highlights, game high 19 points. But then for Toledo, a big reason they got the victory, Jay Bravo Harriet with 17, a team high for Toledo. And the Jags, just like the men, a bit of a struggle going on this year, 2-7 on the season, heading into SWAC on New Year's Day in Houston at Texas Southern. You know a little bit about Houston, huh, Brian?
Well, H-Town Southern versus Texas Southern, so we'll be watching for that. So, of course, watching, yes. This was actually in Houston there at BBVA after one of the football games. The Human Jukebox performing for us as they do every week. But time for the first break. Here in a little bit, a little later in the show, we check in with Ashley Liotis as well as that man right there, beat writer for the Southern Jaguars, Mr. Luke Johnson in studio again talking about the needs for the Jags.
And coming up, early signing day. We mentioned at the top of the show the new faces of the football team right here on Inside the Jaguar Nation.
You're watching Inside the Jaguar Nation, presented by Russell Law Firm, with Brian Holland, Morgan Beard, Ashley Lyotis, and Aaron Lee.
And welcome back to Inside the Jaguar Nation. You know, Morgan, last week you and Aaron talked a lot about graduation, seeing some of those familiar faces moving on, saying their goodbyes there on the bluff.
And of course, they were having a good old time over there. A little stylish, you know, going to the nines there, impressing the families, dancing around. We saw Austin Johnson enjoying himself. Aaron Tiller, Danny Johnson, the rest of those guys, though, leaving their mark on that Southern football program. We talked about them all year long and for the past 4 years for that matter. So it'll be up to the next crop of players to continue their legacy. But here are a couple of those greats discussing the future of the program.
The program is looking bright. You know, I just think that we came in here as freshmen, and when we came in here, we was set with roadblocks. You know what I'm saying? And now that we on our way out the door, we're taking the roadblocks with it. They're getting their spring ball back. Here soon they'll have all their scholarships back. I mean, we just took the sacrifice for them, and for us to handle that as young guys and just go through that program with dealing with a punishment that wasn't ours and just holding on to the winning ways and keeping up to tradition. Now I think they're really going to grow from it as we're leaving, and they're going to get the benefit having their scholarships and spring ball and progressing as players, such as we had to do it on our own.
I like to see Catalan.
Yeah.
Jamal Washington, Demario Houston stepped up and played big. Montavious Gaines, Andre Augustine, you know, John Lamb played quarterback. So I feel like those guys stepped up and did a great job. Just explain to John. John likes to run. You know, that's every time I see John, I always tell him, man, you take more licks than a running back. You know, because John don't like to get down, but he competes, and that's what I like about John. You know, he's fast. You know, he actually reminds me of Kincaid when he runs, but you know, I like the way John competes. So, you know, that's what I like about John.
Oh yeah, that's right. And speaking of the future Jaguars, those underclassmen. Southern making some big moves, getting some big recruits to join those underclassmen this past week, Brian.
Yeah, and this is what Southern actually put out, some of their cool press releases, their, I guess, Photoshop work, if you will. Trying to replace defensive end Aaron Tiller by adding 6'3", 235-pounder Terrence Gray, as you just saw from Ellender Memorial High School there in Houma. And then, of course, you've also seen trying to replace Dylan Beard, who played a big part of last year's team. Reggie Wilson looks to fill those 6'3" shoes as well. You're seeing some more of these Jaguars as they got Jamel Bird, a 6'1" wideout from Hahnville High School, Morgan. So lots of talent coming in as you see some of those familiar faces going out.
Oh yeah, rounding out this class, Damian Crawford, another. The size and the length is what's going to be the trademark of this class. 6'3" corner filling the shoes of Danny Johnson, maybe. And then Colin Gibbons, another 6'3" defensive tackle looking to add to the line and get pressure on the SWAC QBs next season. And of course, you know that's going to be a tough task. No matter who is lining up there, you know they're going to pump in those athletes. And Brian, here's a few more guys coming to the bluff. No fancy Photoshop for these guys, but still just as fancy on the field.
Well, the first one, the big ugly. You know, he doesn't need a big fancy Photoshop. Right. All right. So Bernard Childs the second, an offensive guard from Channelview High School. By the way, you know who else came from Channelview in that area right there?
Enlighten us.
Mr. Jalen Hurts. He plays at a little place called Alabama. They got plenty of talent there in the Houston area. And I see Coach O, Mr. Odoms there, trying to bring in some talent there from not just Louisiana, but from Texas as well. But coming back to Louisiana, Gary Young, a wide receiver, he's got some scoot to him. Only 5'7", but he can make you miss in a phone book. And then Martel Fontenot, the kicker. They love a good, solid kicker, right? And everyone likes the good, solid kicker.
And we were covering Zachary along their state championship run all year long. And you don't see a kicker make the highlights too often, but Martel Fontenot made our highlights a couple times this year. That's just how good of a kicker
Also
he is.
Highlighting the show, the Human Jukebox. Firing it up there from the stands. We're going to have to get them at a basketball game because they make it loud inside the mini dome. Coming up later in the show, we have more from Luke Johnson in studio to talk about some of those targets the Jaguars need to maybe consider maybe possibly a quarterback. That's all coming right back, right here on Inside the Jaguar Nation.
This is Inside the Jaguar Nation, presented by Russell Law Firm.
That's right. Welcome back to Inside the Jaguar Nation. Morgan Beard alongside Brian Holland. And Brian, Oh, how sweet it is. Christmas is here, and that means New Year's is right around the corner.
Yeah, Southern hopefully unwrapping some presents. I feel a lot more cheer, I'll say this, if the SWAC had won the Celebration Bowl. Can I just get that out there?
Yeah, I think everybody would.
For more on what's actually going on in and around the Bluff, we always turn this time to Ashley Liotis, giving us a rundown of what's to come here in the coming weeks for Southern.
Both basketball teams were busy over on the Bluff before Christmas break. Let's take a look at how the teams did and what's going on into the new year. The women's basketball team took on Toledo and West Palm Beach on Monday, but lost 81-76. On Wednesday, the men's team played Baylor in Waco, Texas. They lost as well, 60-80. Coming up, the men's team will host Ecclesia on December 29th at 1 o'clock, and then they'll head to Houston to take on Texas Southern on New Year's Day. That game is scheduled for 8 o'clock and will be on ESPNU. The women's team will also play at Texas Southern on New Year's Day. They play at 5:30. We'll, of course, have more scores and results next week on Inside the Jaguar Nation.
Hey, thanks, Ashley. We touched on early signing day a little earlier, but now we dig a little deeper into what Southern has to replace on the Bluff. The Advocates' Luke Johnson joining Brian Holland in studio. Brian?
I think if you were just looking at right now who's in a better position quarterback-wise going into next year, it's Southern, because they have at least a good gauge of what they have there, like you were saying. But at the same time, I don't know how much the blowout losses to UTSA and Southern Miss are going to help with like the development of Bubba McDaniel and Darquez Lee. I think the thing that's going to help the most with those guys is that they're going to have a spring practice next year.
Right.
And they're going to be able to use that 4 weeks to evaluate those guys and to really see what they've got with them and see how much they've grown over the course of a year. It'll be the first time since I think 2013 they've had spring practice. So they'll get to see what these guys can do. And John Lampley also needs to be in that mix. He was really I think showed he was capable running the offense when Austin Howard wasn't on the field. So it'll be between those three. They've got another quarterback named Kobe Lane, who is a transfer from another FCS school, and I think they'll probably address it in the recruiting class as well.
Lampley certainly showed that he can run in that offense. He can take off. I was talking to some of those senior defensive players, and they said, that guy can fly. Don't let him get loose. But let's talk about maybe some of the recruiting, some of those holes that the Jaguars need to certainly fill in. Do they maybe go after a quarterback, and where are some of those more areas of need?
Yeah, I think quarterback is definitely something they're going to address. And Dawson Odom's even broached the possibility of maybe even seeking a transfer. Another place to look is wide receiver. If you look on Southern's roster right now, it is just filled with 5'8" and 5'9" wide receivers or shorter. The three guys they had, Kendall Catalon, Cameron Mackey, and Jamar Washington, all played really well this year as freshmen. All guys who were in that kind of smaller slot receiver build. They asked them to play outside, and they did fairly well. But I think you want to give yourself the opportunity to have a bigger guy out there. You don't want to be putting those guys matched up against guys who are going to overmatch them physically.
Brian, I'm with you, like you said earlier. We got to get that humidity box at these basketball games. The more, the merrier. But hey, it's time for another break. And after the break, we are taking a closer look at one of Southern's headlining recruits next, right here on Inside Jaguar Nation.
This is Inside the Jaguar Nation, presented by Russell Law Firm.
Welcome back to the show. Morgan Beard, Brian Holland, as always. And we talked about this early signing period. We highlighted a lot of the early signees for Southern, but one that is headlining this class for sure, Terrence Gray.
Well, I think what a lot of college coaches are keying in on are character guys.
Yes,
right.
Definitely.
You see the film, okay, that's a check mark. Now let's look into his grades, what he does off the field. And trust me, Coach Odom's going to love Terrence Gray. We caught up with him. Actually, I did, down there in South Louisiana, down there at home at Ellender High School. Take a listen.
It feels good because you know everybody else around you like supports you and is your backbone. So whenever you get voted king, it feels like an honor just to get that.
And if that's the feeling of winning homecoming king as a senior football star at Ellender High School, imagine this rush of emotion. For Tate Billiot, a student with cerebral palsy, wearing the crown and receiving it from one of the Patriots stars he cheers along on Friday nights.
We gave him a football jersey. He's always cheering at the pep rallies, you know, hooting and hollering, So, for him to do that, to get that crown and to help share being king, it was exciting. It brought chills to me.
When you saw that smile, what did you feel then?
I felt like I really did something special to him. I made something big in his life. It was meaningful to him. It's an unexplainable feeling. It was like I wanted to cry, gave me goosebumps. It was an amazing feeling. It was amazing. I was like, man, I just want to do something meaningful and special. Let him be a king too also.
The senior star says he's headed to Southern University next year to play for Dawson Nodems and the Jaguars. But his selfless act not only inspired his team, but the community as well.
As a coach, you're not here just to coach football players. You're here to teach these kids to be fine, outstanding young gentlemen. It brought the guys closer together. And it wasn't just the team, it was the school, because everybody was, they were all, we're from Ellender. This happened at Ellender. It was, and the community loved it. They fed off of it.
Well, Terrence, we are very proud of Fox 44 and the LHSA to present to you right here the Sports Person of the Month Award for November 27th. Congrats.
With your Play It Forward winner in Houma, I'm Brian Holland.
Hey, good stuff, Brian. Well deserved for Terrence Gray. Oh yeah. Hey, even going way down there, South Louisiana. You like that trip?
I'll take that trip. I can do stories like that.
There you go. Hey, more Human Jukebox as always. But coming up next, number one on the field and number one in your hearts, Brian. I might have stolen your line there, but it's okay. We're
Who will I have to talk about after the season?
Hey, hopefully for Southern, that they're hoping somebody can step up. But hey, he's not going to be gone just yet. We're going to talk about him and much more coming right up on Inside the Jaguar Nation.
This is Inside the Jaguar Nation, presented by Russell Law Firm.
Hey, welcome back to Inside the Jaguar Nation. Morgan Beard, I'm Brian Hahn, and we were joking, of course, going to break about who I'm going to be able to brag about because he was like my player of the week every week, Mr. Danny Johnson.
Well deserved, though. It wasn't like you just had to choose him up. But we're going to be talking about, yeah, you're right. Talk about the future of the Southern Jaguars. We're going to be talking about the bright future of this guy for the near future and beyond that. Here's why. Danny Johnson racking up the accolades, named an FCS All-American for the second time, and then named a third-team All-American as well, finishing the season with 43 tackles, tying a career high, and he also posted a career high of 12 pass breakups to go with 3 interceptions, and he's not done yet. He was also named to Field Steel's FCS All-American team this season, and he's looking to add another one to that list, maybe a Senior Bowl MVP.
What's next for me is the Senior Bowl. I hope to see all of them there at the Senior Bowl, and that's going to be a big accomplishment for me as well. So I'm looking to go out there and compete. So I hope to see everybody from Jaguar Nation at the Senior Bowl.
Giving us the shout out there, too. All right, for Morgan Beard, Aaron Lee, I'm Brian Holland. This is Inside the Jaguar Nation.
Winning doesn't happen overnight without a championship mindset. Come join me, head coach Morris Scott, and the SU Jags men's basketball team as we prepare for the upcoming season at the Mini Dome. Come join us. Go get your tickets today. Go Jags.